Ladies and gentlemen, we are here with another live stream. Appreciate everyone for tuning in post stream or current stream. If you are here, appreciate each and every one of you. I'm here with two of my guys here. I'm going to let them introduce themselves. Lucas, you can go first, and then you can follow right up after that, Alex.
Hey guys, I'm Lucas. I also called at Robbins Lucas on Twitter if you want to follow me. I'm the lead writer for The Blue Stable and happy to be with Culture Shock.
All right.
Alex Rondo Griffin, you got my handle right there, but I am the co-host of the Colts Beat on the Setting and Network. Everywhere and anywhere you can listen to a podcast, you can catch me, you can catch us there. But yeah, happy to be on the show.
All right, man. Appreciate you guys for joining me. We're going to be talking some Colts training camp, man. If you guys aren't, Colts fans, we've been through a roller coaster of days. It's only been 6 days, but it felt like it's been a whole NFL season. We're going to go ahead and hop into it. The first topic of this question is Quentin Nelson, and then we'll jump into our quarterback. But Quentin Nelson went down with an injury similar to like Carson Wentz, but the funny thing is Carson Wentz was to go get surgery today, and they lined up Quentin Nelson right after it to go get figure that situation out. Coach Frank Wright was on the Pat McAfee show earlier. If anyone knows to get down to the bottom of it, is Pat McAfee. Immediately after the injury, he called Coach Frank. He answered, and we discussed the injury for Quentin Nelson. So Quentin Nelson had an injury. Coach Frank said it was an anomaly. So they're going to get this all figured out. Lucas, let me get your thoughts on this injury and everything going on for our situation with this thing.
Well, it's very weird to see it being pretty much the exact same injury as Carson Wentz at nearly the exact same time. So they're going to have a very similar recovery time, and we'll see when both of them can come back. The range right now is they could be back just before week 1 in the best case scenario, which it did sound like, at least for Carson Wentz, his surgery went well. We're still waiting to hear news on how well it went for Nelson, but that's the early part of the window. The latest that they could be back is around week 8, which would be absolutely devastating to the Colts season. Though on the flip side, this is exactly why Wentz's trade had the conditional pick of the first and the second pick for this upcoming season, or for this upcoming draft. But with the Nelson injury in particular, it's going to be absolutely devastating to have that loss of Nelson on the offensive line. We do have a good backup in Chris Reed, but Chris Reed is no Quentin Nelson, to say the least. There's going to be a big drop-off there, especially for this entire left side of the line, which is decimated with injuries. We have no Nelson. Kelly is out for at least a week or so more. We'll get a better timeline on that a little bit later. And we also still don't have Fisher. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this offensive line kind of forms around these backups.
Yeah, absolutely. Alex, let me get your thoughts on this, man.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm more of like a tempered one. I'm honestly not bothered by it. Like obviously it's a big deal when your all-pro guard goes down, but like you said, at least we know the timetable. Obviously, as short as 5 weeks. The worst case scenario is 12 weeks. You mentioned that we have good backups, but I think the important thing, and I literally just said this on my show like a few minutes ago. Thank God the injuries are happening now and not in week 13. You'd way rather have this now. You mentioned Eric Fisher being out. If anything, he probably comes back now with Nelson at the same time with Wentz. You get all three of those guys potentially back at the same time on the same page. We're going to be just fine. Not to mention the fact that this team is defense first. We're not relying on our offense to necessarily win us a lot of games. So with Wentz, we were expecting it. Obviously, with Nelson, you're concerned, but it sounds bad, but it could be a lot worse. It's not as bad as like Twitter's the world's making out to seem.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's really not. People are just overreacting. They see injury, and then they see the weeks that they're talking about. They're like, oh my God, he's going to be out the whole season, when it's not that in general. Most people forget that this is not even the preseason yet. This is training camp. So those weeks are accumulating going up to the regular season. I already predicted that these guys probably are going to come back in one of those easy games, and I'm going to be predicting the Houston Texans game to be that game for these guys to come back, get the wing on them, get that stride. I think all these guys are probably going to come back in that week just to lock in, because we know we got a tough battle after that game. So I feel like that's going to be the game for everyone to come back. Shout out to everyone in the chat right now. We're seeing you, Coquito. with the Lucas Sweater Robins. That's his nickname, Alex. If you didn't know, he always wears that sweater. Legendary.
I've only
Big
worn
play
it
slay.
once before. That's the thing.
It only took one time, and everyone just knows you for that sweater, man. It's all
Made
it
an
is.
impression. Is all it is.
It definitely is, man. Big play slays in the building, Tarantula Life. Appreciate you. Sir Rios just walked in. He said, "What's up to everyone?" He said, "I'm not too worried, but I wish Jacoby was here. I still think the Colts will beat the Seahawks." Hey, man, I definitely got good feelings about the Seahawks game. We'll get into that a little bit later as well. Like I said, we just mentioned the injury towards Big Q. Now we're going to talk about the unfortunate injury. Before that was Carson Wentz, who was actually having himself a very good training camp. Turns a lot of heads, being a leader, a big veteranship, and a lot of people didn't expect that, especially from the Philadelphia media and that fan base. A lot of them didn't think that was going to be, transpiring into Indy. But, it's the turn of a new leaf, a new chapter in his book. He definitely needed this fresh start. He went out in training camp, and, he was going guns blazing. He's out there with the rookies before the official training camp started. And then, unfortunately, he went down with that injury on that, that pre-route or that little play snap that he tried to do, or turnaround, whatever they called it. But, he went down with that foot injury that was lingering from high school. That's what Coach Frank said. But it is what it is. I blame the turf, but I don't know about you guys. But, Alex, let me get your thoughts first on this Carson Wentz injury, and how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, we touched on it a little bit. Obviously, it hurts. He was supposed to be QB1, but again, temper Colts Twitter. You guys are all acting like he was Peyton Manning or Drew Brees or something. He would come. He had to come to this team and prove himself. So, if anything, we should lack a concern of it. That's exactly why the provisions in the trade. He has to play 75% of the snaps, 70 to make the playoffs for the Eagles to get a first-round pick. You knew what you were getting in terms of the health. Now, obviously, the timing, you're like, oh, here we go again, preseason quarterback injury. And then even then, to your guy in the chat who he wishes Jacoby was here, it's honestly a great segue because let's go back to that Jacoby season. Jacoby was hated amongst Colts Twitter when he was winning games because he wasn't putting up numbers.
Yeah.
You roughly have this same team. If anything, it's probably a little better than that Jacoby roster. So Jacob Eason doesn't need to come in here and start gunslinging and throwing 400 yards. He can be a game manager. Defense is going to carry. It's really a low pressure situation for whoever lines up under center. And then when Wentz comes back, again, same thing. He obviously, hopefully, we're winning. He just has to carry that momentum. If we're losing, hopefully, he comes and rights the ship. But it's not like Wentz was ever going to be the savior of this team.
Yeah, I agree absolutely. Lucas, what's your thoughts on this, man?
My thoughts on this are, I agree. Wentz was not going to be this quote-unquote savior, at the very least for year one, maybe year two. But this injury kind of represents another obstacle for him rather than, the trade is already a fail. It's already a bust. The season's over. There's still plenty of more time for recovery and for him to get his body right and to get the necessary steps needed to really adjust back to the level that he was before. But it does add a bit of a risk for the rest of the season going forward because could the injury flare up again? We don't know. Though a big thing is that this surgery does help prevent that from happening. If he decided to try and tough it out and play through it, as we saw with years prior with a lot of other players and even Wentz a few years before, it does not work very well. It very well could lead to longer-term effects later on. So I'm very happy that he made the decision to get the surgery and kind of correct this right out of the gate. But we need to kind of reevaluate how expectations are, not just for this season, but for Wentz and for our quarterbacks going forward. Like Rondo said earlier, Jacoby Brissett was not lighting the world on fire in 2019. If anything, he was a game manager. His job was not to lose us games. And that was pre-DeForest Buckner being added to this Colts defense and taking it to another level. And we still won 7 games with a game manager quarterback in Jacoby Brissett. If Eason can be close to that level, then we can do pretty decently well. However, there's also this early season schedule to factor in as well, where there's going to be some really tough opponents. And I wasn't expecting them to win more than 1 to 2 games, even with Carson Wentz to start the first 5 games of the year. Because if you look at that schedule, you got Seahawks, you got Rams, you got the Titans. Week 4, I believe you have the Dolphins and you have the Ravens. That is 5 very brutal matchups to start off with, but I think that we can at least squeak by a game or two, even without Wentz. And then when everyone is back, like you guys said earlier, it's going to be a whole new offense and a whole different team to really get to our stride heading into an easier schedule and towards the end of the year.
Oh yeah, man, 100%. It is true, Ben Kennedy. We definitely could have got Brady, but we don't want to mention that. But it is what it is. That was last year. It's in the past. Appreciate Bobby Murphy with the trolling. I love you, man. You're always in the comment section talking about Wentz. I love it though. Don't bother me at all. But another thing that I definitely piggyback off of both of you guys, Carson Wentz. When we acquired him, I didn't predict him to go be MVP for him. All we wanted was him to be a game manager. We are, and the thing is that most people don't understand that he knew the role when he came to the Indianapolis Colts. The offense is run by a committee, so we're running the football pretty much 75% of the time. So I'm pretty sure that would have leved up, the pressure off of Carson to go make those big plays or try to force things that's not be needed when he is playing quarterback. And like I said, it's unfortunate that he went down. But another thing that some Colts fans don't seem to understand is that last year when Phillip Rivers retired, most people wanted Jacob Eason to start and fill that role after that anyway. And like I said on a few videos that might come out later that I'll be featured on is, it's unfortunate, but this was your wish. You wanted Jacob Eason to become the starting quarterback. And, of course, Carson Wentz has to pay for that with that injury, which is unfortunate. But we get to see Jacob Eason step up to this role and get a chance to fill it. And, like I said, I'm with the Eason train, a big arm gunslinger. I'm definitely with that. Let me get your thoughts on Jacob Eason filling this role. And let me get your record prediction as well for the first 5 games. How do you think Jacob Eason is going to do? Lucas, you can go first. Mike's muted.
My mistake.
You good.
Like I was saying on mute, I think Jacob Eason is going to do pretty well. There's going to be some struggles, no doubt about it, especially considering this is his very first starts to his career and going up against a brutal matchup. But there are going to be some highs along with that. There will be some moments where you're going to be like, holy crap, this guy has a cannon. He can really make almost any throw. But at the same time, he's going to have some head scratching moments of why the heck did he make that throw? Why did he throw it into possible double coverage or get another linebacker interception over the middle? There's going to be frustration. But at the same time, we have this defense that can win us games almost by itself. I think we're going to be able to get in those first 5 games 1 to 2 wins in those 5 games. And ultimately, that'll be enough to kind of keep us afloat until our roster gets healthier.
Oh, true. Alex, let me get your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, well, even with Wentz, I think I only had us going 3-2. Honestly, it's that range. It's 3-2 or it's 2-3. I kind of lean towards 3-2. I really those first 5 games, the only team I really see in there that's kind of trouble is the Rams. Mm-hmm. But like Seattle doesn't scare me. Tennessee doesn't scare me. Miami doesn't scare me. Baltimore maybe, but and we mentioned it enough already. Eason doesn't need to come in here and fill up the stat sheet and be fantasy football player of the week or whatnot. He rely on the run game and let the defense carry. So, I mean, for the most part, I'm not too really worried. And even then, for your guy who keeps commenting about Jacoby, I was big on Jacoby in 2019. Mm-hmm. Eason could literally just kind of replicate because you look at it, Jacoby was playing nice football until that injury. And it wasn't necessarily tearing up the stat sheet or whatnot, made plays when he needed to. Could he have been more aggressive? Sure. But if Eason can just kind of replicate what Jacoby did, we're going to be just fine.
Yeah, 100%, man. Like I said, for a guy, I think Eason is going to pull it off. I don't know why, but I need some sports better websites or some Twitter accounts like FanDuel and them. I need to know these odds on Jacob Eason's production going to these first 5 games because I have a gut feeling that he can pull it off, really. And I think the first game is going to take Seattle by hand. Why? Because no one really has NFL film on Jacob Eason. So I think he can take the first game easily by storm and really carry it. Why? Because I think the run game can definitely lead the offense, and I think the defense can be consistent enough to win that game against Seattle. Now, this is no knock on Seattle because we know how good regular season Seattle is. Regular season Seattle, air it out no matter how much it is. Even with no offensive line, Russell Wilson is just that amazing. Simply as that. And that's one thing we have an issue with is mobile quarterbacks. But, us, looking at this training camp that we'll be talking about later, the pass rush, even though our offensive line is injury prone in this training camp, but our pass rush is looking flat out amazing. And I've been saying the pass rush looking good at training camp can transpire into the NFL season. The repetition, the confidence, knowing that you can do this with the guys you're lined up with can definitely carry over going into the NFL season. Let me know your thoughts on the first matchup. How do you think, how could we pull off week one against Seattle? Even though I know Alex is probably going to have a show game prediction of week one, but you just give me your prediction now. It may change later, so let me get your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably going to change later. I have the Colts, though, breaking the week one curse. If I remember correctly, the Colts haven't won in week one since 2013. And then in terms of home openers, I don't think home openers being week one, I don't think they've won that since like 2007 or something ridiculous. But I honestly, I think they're writing on the wall to finally like right that ship. It would be purely ironic if it's your backup quarterback missing his all-pro left side of the offensive line. Because again, as mentioned, Seattle's offense is absolutely deadly. No question, 100%. Russell Wilson is easily a top 5 quarterback in the league. But just like I've made the arguments about Tennessee and everyone worried about Julio, name 2 defenders on Seattle not named Jamal Adams.
Yeah.
Bobby Wagner. Sorry. Okay. There's the 2 names. Name the other 9.
Right.
So I'm not worried, and I'm not by all means. I am not saying Jacob Eason is going to go tear up that defense. But what I am saying is that's probably a pretty good team to throw him out to for his first NFL action. Like, let's just think about it. Imagine if that was the Rams week 1, and you're going to feed him to 99. Which, by the way, the Bears play the Rams week 1, so good luck, Justin Fields. But I mean, like. So it's a good situation. Not to mention the fact that going back to the Jacoby comparison. That year, we were planning as if Luck was going to be ready. He was just injured indefinitely. Eason knows right now with 6+ weeks to prepare, it's your football come week 1. Wentz he's out. There's no maybe, like he is out. It is your ball week 1. So preparation is completely different.
Absolutely. Lucas, let me get your thoughts on that week 1, man.
Well, I think there's still a chance. Very small, but there's still a chance that Wentz could play week 1, and so could Quentin Nelson. Though again, that's on the very optimistic side of the projections for both. But assuming, of course, that Eason is going to be the guy for week 1, I think there's going to be a little bit of a learning curve even against this Seahawks defense, because we all know how terrible the Seahawks defense was in the first half of the year. They were absolutely garbage, and they were having close to a record-breaking amount of yards allowed in their pass defense. But then when Jamal Adams came back on that defense, they were the number 1 defense for the second half of the year in the NFL. I could see if they keep on hitting that mojo for the start of the year, it could be a very tough game for Jacob Eason to welcome to the NFL to. And then the next week, especially if he doesn't have Quentin Nelson, he's going to get very familiar with Aaron Donald. I think there's going to be some panic after week 2 amongst Colts Twitter. That's all I'm going to say on that. But I think there will be some flashes even in those games. There will be some headaches. And then afterwards, week 3 is when we start to kind of see some more of something substantive for Eason hype going forward.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I think we can win off. I think we can pull it off week 1 for sure. Week 2, I think you guys have a lot to do with that, because especially Lucas, you came on my show plenty of times. Oh, Quentin Nelson versus Aaron Donald. Oh, Quentin Nelson versus Aaron Donald. Now we can't even get it. Thanks to y'all hyping it up. Thanks to y'all.
Don't blame me for that. No one would have done that more than me. I am waiting for this for years. Everyone's been saying how Aaron Donald could absolutely wreck Quentin Nelson or vice versa when no one knows. And especially if he doesn't play, and even if he does play, he won't be fully healthy, very likely. we won't get that straight answer. Hopefully both players are going to be around on their respective teams for the next 4 years so we can see them next go around, or somehow both teams make the Super Bowl within the next 4 years. But I ain't betting on that. It's going to be a very, very rough time for my soul if I don't get to see that matchup. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, for sure, man. Shout out to JDW for popping in. Shout out to Ish, shout out to Horseshoe Podcast, man. How are you doing? Iron said training camp made me sick, didn't it all? He said, hey, Rashad's in here. Appreciate you for stopping by. So many injuries, yeah, I know. It's tough, man. But yeah, I think we'll pull it off. A lot of people are popping up in the chat. Appreciate you guys. He said, go Colts. Devon Ward said, I feel like Huntley or Morton never got a shot as a starter coming out of college because they were both behind Pro Bowl QBs. Hey, man, but you can definitely learn a lot behind them as well. Just saying. He said, bet on the Rams. Of course you would, Rashad. Of course you would. Hopefully that message relayed to that D-line coach. But we'll get into that a little bit later.
Wait, didn't Huntley get a chance in Arizona when they had that revolving quarterback door? So
wasn't that the Kevin Colby year as well?
That was Kevin Cole, Matt Leinart. I think that was the bad. Like they had a bad. I think it was like John Skelton. Also, they had a really bad stretch of QBs.
He had a chance, but no one was succeeding in that year. No one.
You know, he had a chance in Green Bay too. Like at the end of the year when they clinched the playoffs, he had like a few snaps on there.
Well, yeah, didn't that one game get him paid like the Raiders or something? Like,
are you thinking
that didn't the Raiders pay him like after that?
He played on a lot of teams.
Yeah,
so he has experience all over the place, but he just never could pan it. I think he just fell into the wrong spots. There were teams open looking for a quarterback. I think he was just chasing a contract at that point. But I think he really could have had it. I mean, if he was really putting on in Arizona, he could have landed in Denver because they had Brock Osweiler at a minute, and they definitely could have used Brent Hundley if he was successful in Arizona. Just saying. But and they still need a quarterback. But you know, it is what it is. Shout out to everybody dropping in here, man. Appreciate you. You guys are making me lose my topic, but it is all good. But yeah, we just talked about Quentin Nelson. We just talked about Carson Wentz and Jacob Eason. But now we're going to hop into the official training camp. Training camp, 6 days in. Man, we've seen a lot. But first, we're going to go ahead and talk about this quarterback position between Sam Ehlinger and Jacob Eason. They both had some, ups and downs. But this is what you expect when you have guys that are just thrown into a role, not really getting experience. But this is their experience. They're going against a top defense day in and day out in these 11-on-11s. But, hey, I've seen some good players from both quarterbacks. Lucas, let me get your thoughts on Sam Ehlinger and Jacob Eason in these 6 days of the training camps. How do you think they played?
Well, it's definitely been a noticeable downgrade from what we saw from Wentz. No one's going to be disputing that. But again, these are guys who have yet to take an NFL snap, yet to even play in a preseason game, both of them. I really liked the encouragement in terms of their development and learning mistakes. They're trying to adjust throughout the year or throughout the last few game or practices. But the problem is that too many people are focusing on the stat lines every single practice, but no one's really trying to focus on what specifically they're trying to improve on. For example, very early on, we saw Eason have a bunch of interceptions from the linebackers. He had 2 from Okereke, 1 from EJ Speed. Today, he had 0 interceptions. He was 10 for 22, but he was putting the ball in some really nice areas. He unfortunately was not getting so many chances because there was a lot of really impressive plays on the defense to break up some passes. So I really hope that they can develop at this point. They have plenty of mistakes that they've made, but this is the time to learn from them. This isn't the time to pad the stats.
Yeah, absolutely. Alex, let me get your thoughts on both quarterback plays in these 6 days.
Yeah, I mean, so for me, maybe I'm a little different because I don't really buy in much to really training camp, OTAs, preseason, whatever, just because of the fact that you guys both mentioned it. You're practicing against your teammates. I've said it enough on Twitter. It's pretty easy to play defense when I literally know the plays. not to mention the fact that really, like, this time is literally for them to, especially with Ehlinger being a rookie, Eason finally taking the snaps. It's literally learn the playbook, learn the schemes, whatever you do, make the mistakes here. That's the point of practice. It's not going to matter until literally week 1. You can't even buy too much into the preseason. And because again, I'm gonna repeat this till I'm blue in the face. Go back and look at the Bills comments or whatnot when they had Nathan Peterman and he was lighting them up during training camp. That guy's a walking meme now of being automatic pick sixes. So like what like Lucas said, the stats for training camp don't matter. They're learning the play. They're getting comfortable, learning their teammates, whatnot. If they play badly in the regular season, then we can panic. But like again, if he throws a pick in practice, hello, these are professionals. He's not playing against scrubs on the other side of the ball.
Yeah, for sure, man. I'm just reading the chat. You guys are crazy. Eason season is among us. Jake Eason versus Russell Wilson. He said if Eason balls out during the preseason and against the Seattle and Wentz is ready by week 2, would you keep Eason and ride him as a starter, or would you put Wentz back into the fold? Well, to be honest, you want my honest answer? I would like to have him go week 1, and if he goes successful, I'd rather throw in a guy with an elite arm or elite talent in Carson Wentz against a good team like the Rams. I wouldn't throw Jacob Eason back out there against the Rams because we know how good the Rams defense is. Wentz's first game is against a top defense. I'd rather see what Wentz's mind is. And then if he's struggling, you can throw Jacob Eason in there because he's going to be ready. But I would have Wentz start week 2 versus the Rams. What would you guys do? Lucas, you can go first.
Yeah, I'd go a little bit of a different direction with that,
Mm-hmm.
especially if Quentin Nelson isn't quite ready. If there's the scenario where Wentz is ready, but Nelson isn't, and they're going up against Aaron Donald, I'd say let Wentz rest for at least one more week. Let him not get absolutely wrecked by Donald in mind, body, and soul in his first game as a Colt. So
you're sacrificing Jacob Eason. I'm not mad at that.
Let him be the sacrificial lamb. Because when you're coming off of an injury and he's not able to run like he used to against this guy, yeah, I'd be more than happy for Wentz to say, you know what? I'm going to be on the couch. I'm going to be on the sideline. Just you go, Rook. You go.
All right, Alex, let me hear it.
For me, I would say let's define Eason tears it up. I mean, like, so
Right.
let's say he throws a 350 and like 4 touchdowns, keep the hot hand. But if he throws for like 200 yards and a couple of touchdowns, then okay, let's flop in Wentz. I would say it depends how good does he play in that week 1 game, and then part 2 is how ready is Wentz, because like Lucas said, I'm not sending 80% Wentz to go get destroyed by Donald. Eason has 2 feet. He can try to run away.
Yeah, man, it'll be crazy to watch. But shout out to everybody. Shout out to Indiana Sports Talk. He says sign Phillip Rivers. And let's go ahead and hop into that while we're in here. Phillip Rivers, if you guys haven't seen it, is definitely in the chat. Rumors is that he is not counting out a return possibly to football. Lord knows if not, probably not going to be back in Indianapolis, even though he knows the situation right now. But he's a good coach right now. But if he was to return, I'm counting into I don't know what team he will play for. I really don't. I mean, I would send him probably to New England because I just know they're going to have some quarterback controversy up there for sure. But would you guys accept Phillip Rivers back right now? Alex, you can go first.
Nope. Look, he was nice last year. I didn't even want him last year, but he shut me up a few times other than he didn't. So he was nice, but he's done. And I said that before we even signed him last year. I don't even really see him wanting to come back. And if he did, I feel like Denver would probably outbid everybody since they're obviously not confident in who they have. And they're still in rumors of trying to pick up Aaron Rodgers. So yeah, let them enjoy fatherhood with all the kids.
I am one of the kids. Lucas, let me hear it.
Well, I'm not betting that Rivers is going to be coming back, especially since in that same tweet he said later in the season, which we have the issue of the quarterback right now. If he's not coming back once Wentz is already back and if Wentz is staying healthy. But if there was a chance that he decided he wanted to come back into the NFL for the early part of the season, Yes, I would want Rivers back just for at least a few games, see what he has left, and just have him check down, check down, check down like crazy to avoid Aaron Donald. Please. Please. Because we can beat the Rams with the check down against them. Their biggest weakness on their defense is quick throws targeting their linebackers. That is the biggest weak spot in their coverage. And we got some running backs that can exploit that weakness very, very well. And I trust Rivers to check that ball down very well to them. So, sure, I'd bring back Rivers just for a 1-year small deal. Maybe he was only for a few games. Because Wentz is on a 2-year rental pretty much on this trade. He has no guaranteed money after 2022, and we can do whatever we want with him and his contract then. But at the same time, I do want to see what Eason has. So we can see. I'd sign him for week 2 and let Eason have the first game.
What's up with these sacrificing quarterbacks, man? Like he wants everybody. Yeah, send him out there week 2. Send him out there week 2. He wants to send everybody, even old man Phillip Rivers.
It's good to have depth when going up against that guy. Let's be honest.
Anywho, we're tired of hearing you sacrifice people. You're gonna down the hill low signing back Phillip Rivers because nobody's gonna want him. But we got another guest coming on the show. Michael Terrazas is in the building. What's going on, Michael? How you doing, man? He heard you in the background, by the way. He's been there for a minute.
I'm coming on here to talk about Colts football, talk about the craziness going on today in the NBA, chilling, maybe get on some GTA Online. And I get on, and I hear my lead writer, Lucas, who knows better, who has the knowledge. He is smart. He is gifted. And he's speaking some bull crap.
He's going down the hill low.
I'm sorry, everybody. I'm sorry if your volume was up. I'm sorry. I'm Michael Terrazas. I'm a nobody. Y'all probably don't know me. But look. Oh, man. I probably need an edible or something, man. Oh my gosh. Okay. Look, to get me through this episode, guys, Lucas, talk to me, buddy. Talk to me. Okay. Let me get this microphone right here. That way you can hear me good and clear. Did I hear you say that Phillip Rivers, who is enjoying retirement, has enough money to feed his 11 kids, who's enjoying being a head coach at a high school? I don't even know if they're good or if they suck. I don't know. But did I just hear you say correctly that you would rather have Phillip Rivers come in here just for a 1-year rental? Not even a 2-month rental until Carson Wentz comes back. A 1-year rental. That means you want him for the entire season. Is that correct?
You are paraphrasing. That is not fully correct.
What I actually got in the middle of your thought. I actually got in during the middle of that, but okay.
What I said was this. I will explain.
Enlighten me, please.
Right here. I said, I want to see what Eason has for at least week 1. We have to at least give him that chance to prove himself. Mm-hmm. And if it is not looking good at all, he does not seem ready against that Seahawks defense, I don't want to sacrifice him to the Rams and Aaron Donald without Quentin Nelson to absolutely shatter his confidence permanently. I'd rather have signed the veteran Phillip Rivers for until Wentz gets healthy. Then we can do as is with his contract. It's going to be a 1-year deal because you don't sign guys for months, you sign them for years. But he would not be the guaranteed starter once Wentz comes back unless he's absolutely balling out. And I know that Rivers can specifically do what we need to try and even beat the Rams. Would I predict that we beat the Rams? No. I'd say they're the toughest opponents on our first 5-game schedule, and that's saying something. But he can do the exact thing we need, which is target the running backs and get the ball out quickly to absolutely destroy their linebacker coverage so that we have a fighting chance that in that game. and possibly even until Wentz returns in other games that are against some pretty tough defenses. That is my case on why I would be pro signing Philip Rivers. However, do I think it's likely? No. And do I think that he would be coming back for the beginning part of the year? No, because in the exact same tweet, they said he'd be up into coming back later in the regular season. So is this even possible? I don't know. But that's what I would say is my perfect scenario in terms of a Rivers comeback to the Colts. I rest my case.
Okay. Well, the case is about to get put up in flames, okay? It was rejected by a jury. It was tossed out. I literally just gave it to a kid in the stand and said, go throw this in the trash. The judge is about to speak. Okay. As the captain of the Jacob Eason hype train, okay?
Yes.
You are banned from getting on my train, by the way. So I was going to give, the staff of the Blue Stable, everybody got, a free lemon drop shot. Everybody got a free bottle of whiskey, whatever you want. Even if you want Big Red, soda, water, whatever the case may be, you got it free. That does not go to you, sir. Look, here's the thing. Jacob Eason is going to flatten Aaron Donald in week 2. He's going to stiff arm his ass into the ground because he does not bench more than Jacob Eason. Even if Aaron Donald wanted to touch Jacob Eason, Michael Pittman would not let that happen because just like he manhandled Yannick Ngakoue off the offensive line in week 2 last year, he's going to do the same thing to Aaron Donald this year. Now that I got my kidding monologue out of the way, seriously, Jacob Eason, I understand the point to where, you want to bring in insurance, you don't want to destroy his confidence. I get that. The part I don't get is going with a guy that is, 41 years old. I don't get that part. That's the part I don't get, who is retired, who is enjoying retirement, enjoying coaching, what he's always wanted to do. I honestly don't get the point of even bringing anyone in. I really don't. I don't understand the point of that because bringing someone in is also hurting his confidence at the same time because that's basically saying, Jacob, we just don't believe in you, man. That's the case. And in our minds, we can make up, not really make up, but we can bring up the points. No, they're bringing in the vet because they want insurance in case he goes down. They want this, they want that. The mindset of the player, it's not going to be that. It's going to be, if you believed in me, there wouldn't be any need to bring in that guy. Nick Foles, Marcus Mariota, Nick Poles, Mick Moles, I don't care. Whoever you brought in, that's what the thinking would be. So you're already hurting Jacob's confidence already without him even stepping on the field. The psychology part of it, it's big. Now, Jacob Eason, look, I love and I've wanted and I've prayed for him to get a shot. I hate that it was at the expense of Carson Wentz. I really hope he comes back, actually. But I'm very excited to see what he's got because he hasn't played real football in 4 years? He hasn't really done it. A couple of years at Washington, he was lighting it up at Georgia. He got hurt. Then a guy named Jake Fromm, who's really a nobody now, came in and caught fire. That happens sometimes. It happens. It happens to the best of us. Happened to Tony Romo. It's happened to Curtis Painter did not take Peyton Manning. I don't even know why that jumped in my head, but it's happened. It's happened in the past, not even just in college football, in the NFL. So when it comes to Jacob Eason, you have to roll with him. Just like Frank Reich said, they're saying the right things. This is your show. This is your team. Quarterback 1, you run the show. Is he going to be putting up, 16 of 18 stat lines, in practice? I would sure hope not, because a guy that hasn't played meaningful football in 4 years is lighting up our defense. That says a lot more about our defense than it does Jacob Eason. Let's just say that right now. So I'm actually thankful that we hear the defense is lighting it up, against an injured offensive line. But shout out my boy, Ben Bangu. We came back healthier, came back stronger, faster, trimmed some fat off. We got in the gym this summer. So he's going to take the job. He's going to get 15 sacks this year. Full confident in that. With Jacob Eason, man, I understand the point of getting a vet in. I understand it, especially outsiders who don't really know Jacob Eason. But at the same time, you drafted this kid. You didn't draft him undrafted. You didn't draft him in the 7th round. You didn't go and just get him off the street. You were in a year of need at quarterback. You drafted this kid. Why else would you draft someone if you don't expect them to play or develop. Now is your chance, because we were hearing that the Colts think maybe Jacob Eason will never be ready. That is something we've been told. He may never be ready. But now is your chance. Now is your time to find out if he's really got it. If he's not doing it against the defense we hope is a very good defense, that's not saying a lot. That's not saying a lot, because our defense is really good and the offense is facing some injuries right now. So give him time, and I'm not saying you're not. I'm not saying you're rushing, man, I've seen what I needed to see. I'm not saying all that. But I think we really need to halt the brakes on talking about bringing in someone in until we at least see next week's preseason game against Carolina. Can we at least see that game before we start talking about bringing in a vet? Even if we brought in a vet, I still wouldn't bring in Nick Foles. I still wouldn't do it. Stop bringing up the comparison of him and Frank Reich. Stop. He went to Jacksonville with Filippo. He went to Chicago with more assets. He still sucked. Stop, okay? I'm rolling with Jacob Eason. I'm not thinking about a vet. I'm not thinking this is why you play the game. You figure out what you have. This is why you draft and sign depth. Figure out what you have. That's what they're doing with Ben Bandigu. That's what they're doing with Kamoko Toure. That's what they're doing with EJ Speed. That's what they're doing with Jacob Eason. You got to do what you got to do, especially with Chris Reed, Danny Pinter, Joey Hunt. They're doing these things. So I think we should table the conversation of bringing in a vet for right now, just for right now. But my confidence is through the roof for this kid, because he can learn. He has the chemistry with Patman, with Michael Pittman already down. They're best buds outside of the building. And I don't know what that interception was today to Grover Stewart. He thought he was in Madden. I don't know what that was, okay? I don't ever do that again, okay? Now is not the time to be throwing circus shots. This is serious business. Show us what you got. So that's my response to Phillip Rivers coming out of retirement.
Yeah, man, 100%. That is.
Oh, hey, Marcus, I also haven't seen you in a while.
Hey, man, what's up? But yeah, man, we're gonna segue into a topic that you brought up that I thought was interesting. But just to clarify that most of his interceptions, if no one was noticing, was maybe like 7 yards or short on each of them. None of the deep balls or the cross routes. They were all short passes. So that's a good thing to look at. We don't need him for that. We're going to need him to throw deep passes every now and then. But it is run by committee for our offense. So the interceptions, it's going to happen. But, an interesting point that Michael brought up was Ben Bandigu's production in his training camp. I think he led the training camp in sacks, if I'm being honest. But, he actually showed flashes of, hey, he wants this roster spot, and he definitely wants to start and get more time on the field. Let me know first, Lucas, your thoughts on Ben Bandigu's training camp, and who do you think stood out the most out of these 6 days?
Well, Ben Bandigu has certainly flashed in the training camp so far. It's been very impressive to see him kind of evolve, as previously we did not see much hype on Ben Bandigu. He was always had this crazy athleticism, crazy upside, but we always had these lingering kind of questions about, is he practicing well? Is he getting enough reps in to really prove himself and be able to show that he can actually contribute as a second round pass rusher? But he's showing a lot right now. I think at this point he has 6 or 7 sacks so far in the training camp. But another thing to remember is he is not going up against the first team offense right now. He's not going up against the first team offensive line. He's going up against the second and even the third team offensive line, which is already suffering injuries at this point. I'm very glad that he's beating up on borderline camp bodies. That I'm very happy for. But we also need to pump the brakes a little bit in terms of hyping him up for 15 sacks in a season or something until we see him against NFL caliber players in the preseason or maybe even the start of the season. We need to see actual reps against more legit competition before I can really claim he is the pass rushing savior for us. He's going to be the starter. But I'm really hyped for him. I really hope that he does make this roster, and he is definitely making a very strong case that he will make this roster. But we got to see if it keeps up. We have to see if it's consistent, and we have to see if it can be maintained against bigger competition.
All right. And your camp standout for the 6 days was?
The camp standout for this 6 days, I'd say, is Bobby Okereke. He has been very, very impressive. He has stepped into a bigger role with Darius Leonard on the currently out in training camp right now as he's rehabbing his own injury, though it's a minor foot surgery. Remember that, guys. Not all these foot injuries are major at this point. It is minor. But Bobby Okereke, meanwhile, has been very, very impressive, not only leading the team in interceptions from the middle linebacker position, but also leading them in terms of making the calls on the defense, trying to make adjustments, getting everyone to the line and into their lineups properly. I've been very impressed with how he's been looking, and I really hope that this is the breakout year for him so he can live up to the prophecy of Pat McAfee from draft night. Future Hall of Famer, Bobby Okereke.
All right, man.
Camp standout.
Definitely, Bobby Okereke.
I just got to say real quick. Lucas. I mean, when I listen to him talk, I feel like I'm watching the news or something. Man, he's got that deep voice, sophisticated voice. And now today on Fox Sports News, credit to you. That's a very good voice.
Yeah, the chat seems to love Lucas when he's on the show as well, especially with the sweater. But Alex, we're gonna get your thoughts on Bobby Okereke and your camp standout for the 6 days.
Yeah, I mean, you guys mentioned a lot already. Obviously, the defense should be first thing first. The defense should be turned up on Eason because he's essentially a rookie. The defense has been slated as supposed to be good, supposed to carry the team. So obviously, when you hear the news of him throwing picks or whatnot, it's like, okay, well, it's supposed to happen, whatever. And so mentioning Ben Banogu and talking about the pass rush, really, this is probably his first year on the team where that edge starting position was like wide open. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's always been a guy where it's like, yeah, it's his spot. Maybe you could win it, but we're gonna go with Houston. We're gonna go with Autry. So the fact that, like you said, that he's dominating these camp only guys who aren't gonna touch rosters, amazing, great. That's supposed to happen. We should be concerned if it's not happening. But again, we're not gonna really know until it's NFL week 1 and knows, okay, that's an actual NFL offensive lineman. Now get that same pressure. And really, as probably all of us have said during draft and before season even started, whoever gets the edge spot is going to have an easy life because of Stewart and Buckner in the middle anyway. So they're not going to necessarily be asked to do too much. So the fact that Bannigan's been killing it, the fact that Kwity, that's lovely. The fact that Kwity Paye has been killing it, like you want to see that, obviously. And in terms of Okereke taking over for what Anthony Walker did for us, very underrated guy who doesn't show up on a stat sheet, doesn't even show up in terms of like news, ESPN, whatnot. So you definitely want to see that transition because obviously he's going to start now. And as for me, I guess a camp standout, I have not watched much of camp. I've already admitted I'm guilty of that. But name to watch is EJ Speed. That's a guy who has been getting reps because Leonard's been out. I was big on him since draft day, and I had said that guy is going to be on his team for a while. He might not necessarily ever be the superstar, but he's going to do a lot of things that don't show up on a stat sheet, and he's going to be that either special teams contributor or even then he's going to be a spot starter. But EJ Speed, number 4 or 5, we expect big things from that guy.
Yes, sir. EJ Speed. Michael, you mentioned Vanagu already, but we got to get your camp stat out. But you were going to go ahead and say something, so you can go ahead and take it away.
Yeah, before I get into my camp standout, I actually got to talking about Lucas's point when it comes to Bobby Okereke. When he was talking about that, I actually want to give a big shout out to Anthony Walker. He really taught Bobby Okereke a lot. Taking the helm, being the leader of the defense while Darius Leonard is out. People still don't understand what type of leader Anthony Walker was, and that's why I still hate the fact that we let him go. He got his money, of course. He went to Cleveland. He's still going to start. They need linebackers, and he's going to ball out there. But I still wish that he was a Colt. But I do want to give a special shout out to him because he taught Darius, and as great as Darius is, he was learning under Anthony Walker, and so was Bobby Okereke. So shout out to them. Also want to see where that goes for EJ Speed. So when it comes to my camp standout. Oh, man. Color me shocked. I love to see that my boy Michael Pittman is stepping up, man. He He's literally ripping dudes' heads off, throwing them to the ground, fighting them, nearly killing them. And he's not here. I believe it was Kevin Bowen that put that out. No more USC pretty boy, nice guy. Just no more of that. He is here to play football. I believe he's gotten the most targets so far in training camp out of the first group. And, I mean, that doesn't shock me too well because of the chemistry between him and Jacob Eason as well as Carson Wentz. He's my standout, man. I mean, he's the guy that I'm really looking to so far this season to actually play a big role in this offense. We talk a lot about, even on our podcast, we talk about what this offense is. It doesn't really go to one guy. Well, that's because there's never been one guy to go to. That's why. And I love T.Y. Hilton. He's been our number one, and he deserves all the credit in the world. But 5'9" is not 6'4". The 185 is not 225. That's just the end of it. And if Michael Pittman can become what we see him become in practice, I mean, even if Jacob Eason undersails a couple of balls, he still tracks that ball down against a guy like Marvell Tell with gadget arms. The longest arms on the team, I believe, or no, that's Mo Alley Cox. One of the longest arms on the team, and like you said, Lucas, number 2, that's still impressive. That is still impressive. Also, Marvell Tell is actually a guy that the Colts coaches love so far in training camps. He's actually been playing well with TJ Carey and Xavier Rhodes out. So Michael Pittman is my standout. We've talked about, of course, Alex did with Ben Bandigout. I would love to see him. He's my guy. I would love to see him get 15. The fact that he's even producing, because he had a very, very, very quiet camp last year. And this year, I mean, George Bremer even said that he's playing on the right side now. He's not playing on the left side anymore. So the fact that he's playing on the right side, I'm not sure how George Bremer told us something that I didn't think that the Colts coaches didn't know, or that Tyquan Lewis didn't know, that Ben Bandigout was left-handed. He didn't know that. And I'm just like, you're with this dude every day for 8 months out of a year, and you didn't know that. And now all of a sudden he gets put on the right side and he's dominating. Is that a coincidence? I don't think so, but also the work he's put in this offseason attests to that as well. Trimming down that fat, getting faster, more explosive is big. I also asked him about Antoine Woods, because that's an interesting battle going on with Rob Windsor out, unfortunately for him. But he basically talked about, for the vets, this isn't really a big training camp for them. Antoine Woods, Taylor Stallworth, their spots are cemented. They don't really need to do too much, just like T.Y. Hilton. We're not seeing too much of him because we know why. We know where he is in this offense. So I love this camp so far. To Lucas's point about the injuries, they are minor injuries, but this is the Colts medical staff we're talking about. So they don't have the greatest reputation. Aside from quarterback injuries, I mean, there was about a 2-3 year run where injury after injury after injury, 6 guys out here, 7 guys out here. I mean, it was an ongoing theme. So hopefully, I don't believe they made changes, but this is not the year to have injuries. This really isn't. This really is not. I came into the season thinking 7-10 because of the amount of questions that were on this team, and I needed answers from them. So with Jacob Eason, maybe about 12-5 now. I'm just kidding. No, probably about maybe like 4-13 or so, maybe. I mean, I love him, but hey, I'm not going to come up here and praise a guy who hasn't shown much yet in terms of football production wise. So that's where I'm at with my camp stuff.
All right. I like that. We got an honorable mention for Desmond Patton for the camp. And then, there's a lot of people talking about Michael Pittman Jr., and that was going to be my camp standout as well, because this dude has been balling. And, I find it kind of funny, the chemistry with him and Eason, how they just click. And we mentioned how Michael Pittman Jr. could just be put in any spot on the field and he can operate because he's just that good. But then when you look at Carson Wentz, he likes to target tight ends. So that can see a whole different scheme of what we're going to be operating going into the season. And I like that. I like getting the wide receivers involved because we got so many weapons. And then you look at our head coach and Frank Reich, who has a very deep playbook. This can really work in Eason's favor for week 1. And I think, and that's why I'm on the bandwagon with Michael Terrazas with the Eason season, because Jacob Eason is definitely a Coach Frank Wright quarterback. So I think it could work out for him in this week 1 debut. But another person and another topic that we can go into for the chat, someone mentioned how is Rocky Sin doing? Now he's had an up and down training camp as well. Alex, if you want to go about Rocky Sin's production in training camp first, we can let Lucas slide on it first, and then you can piggyback. It's up to you.
Well, me first or him?
Yeah, you can go first.
Me first. Yeah, I mean, Rock. What can we say? Like, I already, as I've promised before, I'll say it again, just so everyone knows. Like, I have not watched much, if any, of training camp. So really, most of it, I'm piggybacking off of them, or I'm going off of like literally highlights I'm seeing on Twitter. And so, in terms of highlights, I'm not seeing anything about Rock. So that either tells me he's either doing. It kind of tells me that he's probably being average, because if he's being really bad, I would have heard about it. If he's being really good, I would have heard about it. I said coming into this season that my starting corners are Rhodes, Carey, Kenny Moe, and Marvell Tell's next. So for me, and it's probably not going to happen, Rock's in cut territory. So he would have to prove a lot to make the roster, let alone earn a starting role. And when he was drafted, he was supposed to be our number one guy. And now I've been loud on the fact that I do not like how they've treated him as a pro. When he first kind of got to the team, they kind of threw him to the wolves, just like no one corner here, no safety help, have at it. With a corner, you can't do that. You don't see any of these young corners getting drafted coming in and being these shutdown guys day one. Maybe Pat Peterson did that, but for the most part, it's unheard of.
Yeah, no one can be a Jalen Ramsey.
Yeah, nobody.
Exactly. You're not going to get that. If you do, congratulations, because it's not common. So you have to kind of work him into that role. So getting Rhodes has helped. Obviously, getting the supporting guys you have has helped. But the problem, and we saw it last season, hopefully that finally gets corrected this season, has been with the PIs. That's something that's got to get corrected. And so this is the time to do that. Again, since I haven't heard anything on Twitter, that tells me he's at least being average. But it's going to have to matter, again, when the games matter. But I don't foresee him starting.
All right, for sure. I can just say for sure for Rocky Sin's sake, he definitely had some ups and downs. He had some good plays and he definitely had some bad plays. He pretty much guarded a few wide receivers from Pascal to Pittman Jr. And they scored on him as well. But he had some good plays as well. So definitely average from my perspective. Lucas, let me get your thoughts on Rocky Sin.
Rocky Sin, his issues have been very consistent throughout his career so far, and he really does need to fix them this year. This is the make or break year for him. It's year 3. We have to see something in terms of development, or else he is on that cut block. But at the same time, he could compete for this starting roster spot on quarterback 2 or 3, really, depending on how you define 2 or 3, if slot is still 3 or not. But anyways, he could compete for that. The problem is, like we've said, we haven't seen a whole lot of positives. We haven't seen a whole lot of crazy negatives outside of a few deep balls they've been beat on before, but there hasn't been any connection between either TY getting deep or a few others, and Wentz or Eason just kind of sailing them a little bit too long for them. So there hasn't been that big highlight play that really says, you know what, Rock isn't it at this point, just because the timing's been off on the quarterback's part. Not so much on Rock kind of making a great play on those highlight plays in his detriment. But hopefully he can develop. Hopefully he can. But I'm thinking TJ Carey is going to be this week 1 starter at this point for the cornerback room. And Tell is not that far behind if he's been working on his craft over the opt-out year. I've heard a lot of positive things from him, but he's more on that, more in the depth chart kind of deeper down in there. We haven't seen him getting as many starting reps yet, but we'll see what happens. I'm really excited to see this cornerback battle shake out between the 3 of them. Let's hope that someone can develop into the true cornerback 2 that we need on the outside.
Yeah, for sure. We're going to let Lawrence walk up in here. Michael, we're going to let you go first if you got anything on Rocky Sin before we add him in.
Yeah, man, go ahead and get Lawrence in here, man. Come on, don't let me hog the mic, man.
The film guru, the person that was actually at the camp for most of these days, Colts only, Lawrence Owen. How are you doing tonight, man?
Everyone's favorite grandfather.
The only reason I am here is the guy that you was trying to push out. Okay, because I didn't realize that you had posted that link in the chat, and he's like, and I was like, maybe there's a link in the oh crap, there is. Here I am. Yep. What's up, guys?
Come on, man. Come on. So actually, it's been a while since I've gotten to talk to you, Lawrence. How you been, man?
I've been good, dude. You can see I've gotten some color since I've been to camp.
Right. All right. It's good to see you, my brother. It's good to see you.
Good to see you too.
So, getting to my point about Rock. This was one of the things that I never said on the podcast, but one thing that Destin did say, he said that if Xavier Rhodes can replicate that same production, and if Rock Ya-Sin can become a solid number 2 with no question, the Colts are going to be in the AFC Championship. Those are his words, and I want to give him credit for that. And I agree with that. But with Rock Ya-Sin, something that I thought about that I mentioned on the show a couple months back is when you bring in new coaches and they look at your roster and you kind of look at it and you say, well, these are going to be my guys. Is Marvell Tell one of James Rowe's guys and Rock Ya-Sin is just unfortunately out? That could be the case. And that is a real thing when the coaches come in and say, I'm going to focus on this guy more than I'm going to focus on that guy. I'm going to focus on developing this guy more than I do whatever this guy. Now, those aren't, rumors that I'm hearing or anything. This is just my opinion, just Michael Terraz's opinion. So I don't want that out there. But for Rock, man, I don't know. I wouldn't say what Alex said. He's in danger of being cut. You're not going to cut a former second-round pick. You're going to shop him maybe a little bit, see if you can get a 6th, 5th-round pick back maybe. Probably at best a 6 because of what the league has seen from him. But a pick is a pick, and Chris Ballard likes them picks. So for Marvell Tell, I'm very interested to see, and I think I said it on the show, and I think Destin and Rashad can back me up. The one guy I am very excited to see and hear about in training camp is Isaiah Rodgers. That is a guy that I am very excited for. I just keep on looking at those plays against Stephon Diggs in that wild card game. The technique that he had, of course, he has the speed to stick with these guys, but the technique that he had on those 2 routes in the red zone, in the end zone, inside the 5, was some of the best I've seen from a Colts corner all year that year. It was just some of the best. And I agree with Alex's point to where when you come in as a young rookie corner, you can't just be thrown to the wolves. That happened with Quincy Wilson. Now, was it completely Quincy Wilson's fault? I wouldn't say so. But did that have a part in his deteriorating development? Maybe. So when it comes to, I kind of compare it a little bit to Michael Pittman. The talent is there, but their trajectory, their development, where is it at? Michael Pittman schooled Tre'Davious White in the wild card game last year. He schooled him. Frank Reich went to Michael Pittman, and Michael Pittman had the offense moving. He did that against Tre'Davious White. For Rock Ya-Sin, I mean, we talked about it. Step up, dude. Step up. You need to cement yourself on this defense, and right now it seems like Marvell Tell's the guy stepping up. I would really rather have Marvell Tell start than TJ Carey. I'm sorry. I just want the guy that's younger, faster, longer, and that can match up against those big guys, because y'all do know the type of receivers we're playing this year, right? We're playing some bad dudes this year. So having a guy that is fast, long, tall, depending on where he's at in his development, I would love to see it happen.
Yeah, and one of those dudes we got to play twice because he's in the same division, not to mention. But now, Lawrence, that's in here, we're going to get your thoughts on the 6 days of training camp and give me your camp standout as well. Appreciate you for stopping by.
Oh, yeah. Camp's been interesting. I have yet to see my own eyes, pads, because it was just today, and I didn't go today. I'm going tomorrow, so I'll see full pads tomorrow. But really, it's been a good experience overall for camp. I was a little bit. Now I just got done talking about this, but I'll say it here.
Yep.
I had a little bit of uneasiness, just like a lot of Colts fans, about the D-line, especially the pass rush, right? A little bit of, no real established consistency at the pass rush position, outside the middle of the D-line. And that's kind of a little bit of worry for me. And from what I've seen, now granted, no pads, but the D line has been one of the most dominant positions so far this camp. And I'm talking all the way across everywhere from Pay, where he's had certain people's numbers. Teray's had certain people's numbers. Isaac Rochelle has had people's numbers. Isaac Rochelle's, I said it when we picked him up. I said he looks like Danico Autry at the time when we picked Danico Autry up, and he does. He's got that splash ability. I think the D line is showing up, and I think they're progressing a lot better than what I thought they were. And as a group, that's very optimistic for me. The running back group has been the best by far, like of all groups. And you kind of expected it as long as Marlon Mack looked even somewhat what he looked like back, in 2019. And he looks at least as good as 2019 Marlon Mack. He actually, to me, Marlon Mack looks like he's out there playing with, the same amount of ability, but more confidence. And that, put those two together, and you got something dynamic. Jonathan Taylor is making fantastic catches like deep go routes down the sideline catches, from Eason, who's leading him perfectly. Is crazy. I haven't seen Hines yet. I don't know if he's back or not. I know he was missing him for a while. The best offensive player, hands down, has been Paris Campbell. Paris Campbell, hands down, has been unfreaking stoppable. Now he's dropped one pass at the camps that I've been to, but all the other ones, he's not able to be. No one can cover him. You were talking about earlier about your young guy that's real fast, right? I want him on Paris Campbell. See if he can handle Paris, because he hasn't been on Paris, right? Paris has just been seemingly unstoppable. He's open. I watched this boy open downfield on a short crossing pattern. The play would develop. The quarterback would get some pressure. He'd have to roll out. And then there's nothing the quarterback can do because he's got to get rid of the football real quick. But Paris has got his man beat by 5 yards easy. Not only that, he had so much time and he's so fast that he's able to do that crossing route or a drag route and then cut up field. And next thing you know, he's 40 yards downfield, and he's catching the football and he's pivoting. He's just absolutely fantastic. Jack Doyle's been fantastic. He looks 6 years younger than what we thought last year. But you got to remember, last year was something different, when we had a quarterback that could not move. We had, issues with the offensive line, things of that nature. He looks younger. He looks faster. He's making great plays. I do like what I see from the other tight ends, Granson, Moale Cox, stuff like that. To Michael's point about the fight between Tell and Rock.
Oh, you got to see that.
Rock has not looked as bad as people want to make him out to look. He did give up a touchdown to Michael Pittman Jr. in one of the practices that I went to. But it was Michael Pittman Jr.
Yeah, it was Michael Pittman, so I'm not
and Michael Pittman, and I'll tell you, that was more an offensive wow play than it was a defensive not so good play, because Rock had Pittman step for step, hip to hip, all the way down the sideline. Pittman watched the ball in the air and then waited until the ball was like 5 yards from him in the air before he cut inside to go towards the ball to catch it, right? Which did not give Rock any amount of time to make any kind of adjustment. It made Rock look bad on the surface, but what it was just a really darn good play by Michael Pittman. Rock did have a tip that he knocked up and it got intercepted. he don't get the credit for the interception, but it was his play that created it. He has been burnt a couple times. I'm not, and it's going to happen, especially. We got to remember, I think our offense is incredibly underrated, even by our own fans and media. I think I think our offense is a lot better than what people seem to think that they are. They're out there. Well, the Colts need a number one wide receiver. I think the Colts have 2 or 3 number one wide receivers.
Thank you.
All right. So, I mean, they just haven't had a chance to shine and show up. That's all it is. So, yeah. But Marvell Tell, that whole thing with the DB's coach kind of focusing on Tell because that's his guy, right? That's a good possibility. And that's an interesting thing that you bring it up. But you got to remember, it's not the DB coach that's going to make that final decision. It's Matt Eberflus.
Yeah.
Right. And as long as Rock is out there showing up, doing his job, learning, getting better, Eberflus will notice it because Eberflus does not turn a blind eye to anybody. He sees who's out there working. He sees who's out there doing the job. But that competition is only good for the Indianapolis Colts and the team in general and the defense, because as long as they're out there fighting it out, that just means better depth. No matter who we start, we'll know the next guy is going to be just as good as the guy that was in there previously. So I'm all for it, man. All for it.
So do you think that? Oh, sorry, Marcus. But do you think the media is just pushing this narrative that this offense just looked pathetic?
The media, and I hate to say this, but it's a lot of our local media. Yes. I'm not gonna throw names out. They push their own narrative, okay, and they only say things that have been stating their narrative, right? Like they'll say, "Well, Ellinger looked better today," and in some ways, now in doing this, it's going to be calling somebody out, but because you'll know who I'm talking about. In some ways, Ellinger has been better than Eason in camp. That is the biggest load of crap I have ever heard anyone ever say in my entire life. Eason has been hands down the best quarterback so far this camp out of every quarter. He was better than Carson Wentz the first 2 days of camp. Eason was. You know that time when they were like, the second day when they were like, well, Wentz was really good today, and he had these touchdowns and he was like 12 of 15 or 16. Eason was 8 of 8. He was throwing perfect, but no, they don't want to mention that. You know what I mean?
Preach, Lawrence, preach.
So they're now, am I saying that Eason has been perfect all camp? No. He's made mistakes, and you expect him to make mistakes, especially first week on a red shirt freshman situation that he's not had any kind of off season for the entire, since he's been here. First team reps, first time ever in the NFL. Of course, he's going to have, hiccups here and there. Of course, there's going to be times when he's rolling out and he overthrows somebody down the sideline 20 yards. It happens. But something I've noticed from Eason that no one is mentioning, almost every one of his incompletions is where he's placed the ball where there's no way on earth that a defender could have got it. The only person that could have caught that ball was the guy he was throwing it to.
It's amazing.
This is why I wish I could get out there to training camp. We focus a lot on these guys, and no disrespect, I'm not going to name names either, but no disrespect to these guys. They are educated. They know their football. They know what they're doing. They know what they're talking about. But at the end of the day, you have to do your own homework. You have to look at the film and take your own opinion. And it sucks. I wish I could. Well, I'm not going to say that on live stream, but I wish I could get in contact with the Colts media person and, hey, send me some film today to get my own take on it. But yeah, you're definitely right. You're definitely right. Media, no matter who they are, they will push their own narratives. And I love the fact that you said that last point about Jacob Eason. he put it where no one else could get it, and I absolutely love that. Also, I mean, you might want to back me up, Lawrence, but I have a buddy who just doesn't believe in Michael Pittman. So,
here we go. Here we go.
I love Michael Pittman. I think he showed out last year. In the fact that he started off the season with no training camp, brand new quarterback, never had any throws with him, and then 2 weeks in, he gets hurt, has surgery. So he's missed pretty much the first half of the season with no real practice, no work with the quarterbacks of the first teams. All he's getting is mental reps, right? That's all he's been getting. And then he comes back the second half of the season and he ends up having the season that he had. That says everything I need to know about Michael Pittman Jr. Okay. He became very good in a very short, quick span last year. And he got better game after game after game. And so far this camp, he hasn't had a ton of, oh my God, wow plays like Paris Campbell or something, or Jack Doyle, for instance. But he's had consistent plays over and over and over and over. And that's what you want from a number one, a guy who can be consistent on every down of every play.
Before we let Lucas and Alex get in, I'm just letting you know I'm listening to a lullaby right now. Listen to Lawrence speak.
But yeah, man, absolutely. Like we've been saying this even while you were live. Like Michael Pittman Jr., even though I just made a video about it, is going to possibly be the number one wide receiver sooner than everyone thinks, just because of this training camp. Yeah, of course, maybe we don't have the offensive line fully healthy and all these things, but he is literally going. And we've seen the footage of Kenny Moore on Michael Pittman Jr. We've seen the swats and everything. Like he has some down plays too because the defense is actually stepping up. But Michael Pittman Jr. is taking the leap next season. I'm booking it. Lucas, let me get your thoughts on these comments, man.
Yeah. When we first started off with the Easton talk, I was talking about we can't be looking at the preseason or the training camp stats. Those are very misleading to what they're doing based off of whether they're going on situational football, what kind of drills are they running, and the context of those stats. Was it a great defensive day, which a bunch of pass defenses on a bunch of red zone drills? Maybe, but the media might not tell you on that one. Could it be more so he was just a hair out of step with his wide receiver, but was still really, really great with that kind of placement of the ball rather than just like absolutely throwing into double coverage? It can also be that too. There always needs to be more context given as much as possible for every single training camp session. And I think that media needs to strive for that, whether it be official media, whether it be us. We all need to try and strive to give the best concrete context that we can give for every single player on that. And it's a tough job. No one's saying that everyone has to be perfect, but we got to strive for it. And so I believe Eason is going to struggle. I've said that already several times, but I think he can get to this developmental stage where he is going to get a lot better as the training camp goes on. Will he do phenomenal in the first few games? Maybe, maybe not, but there's going to be the opportunity for him to grow very, very quickly. And with Michael Pittman Jr., as we've been saying, he has been very consistent. I absolutely love what he's been showing time and time again. And he's been going up against some really, really good corners. Rhodes is out, but with Kenny Moore, there's been some really, really tough reps between those two where it could go either way with Kenny just in lockstep. And sometimes Michael Pittman Jr. is not getting that separation, but he's still getting the ball because of that immense size that he has.
Kenny Moore.
Kenny. Phenomenal player, phenomenal person. Love Kenny Moore on and off the field. But this is going to be a very, very interesting camp where we're going to see our depth like we've never seen them before, for better or for worse. And we're going to see that possibly in the preseason when we finally get to play against guys who aren't our own guys. But at the end of the day, we need to be focusing more so on the results at the end. Like Colts loyalist is saying, we need to be focusing on the end rather than this whole entire beginning. It's the beginning. We have to go through it. We have to learn from it. It's not going to be perfect right out of the gate. This isn't Peyton Manning on the field, who's been there for years and is one of the greatest minds to ever play. These are guys who are young and need to develop. Simple as that.
I'm sorry. May I tack on to what he just said?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you're talking about they focus on a lot of bad things. What certain players do to kind of fit their narrative. Like, yes, Eason's had some bonehead plays. You know what? Rivers had bonehead plays last year. Andrew Luck was known for bonehead plays, right? I mean, we know this. We loved him to death, but we knew that he was good for one bonehead play a game, right? Generally. And that is what it is. Earlier last week, to go on the narrative that you were talking about, they were like, well, Eason was only 13 of 18, and it was check down Charlie all game. I'm sitting there, well, first off, I'll be okay with 13 of 18.
Yep.
I'm okay with 13 of 18. Check down Charlie. Well, let's hear about what's this is. Why didn't you mention the fact that Marcus Brady specifically said they were doing third down conversion drills the entire day? And he specifically told Eason, don't go deep. If it's not there, check it down, get what you can, move the chains. Eason did exactly that, and they were trying to make it look like he had a bad day.
It's unfortunate.
Marcus, come on, man.
Look at Rondo. They're just smiling like, wow. But it's
the only person I know that believes in the Colts right now, other than us, is probably Dan Orlovsky. And I swear that's probably the only person I can believe. Pat McAfee too, but that's the only person I know.
Kyle Brandt likes us.
You can't forget about Jimmy from the Colts. He definitely believes in them.
Oh. I swear, every time that name comes up that Lawrence said, my heart just breaks every time. Every time he says that name, dude. The night that news broke, dude, I'm man enough to announce it on here, dude. I legitimately cried on my couch. Like, when I listened to that speech, I literally cried. I'm not supposed to cry about that, but I did.
I mean, you saw the emotion from the man when he was sitting there talking. It was hard not. I mean, if you had any kind of feelings at all, if you're not a robot, feelings were welling up right there. Of course it's going to bring out emotions.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Alex, let's go ahead and get your thoughts, man. You've been isolated for a little while. I know you've been going through something. I've been laughing earlier, but go ahead and let us know, man.
No, yeah. I mean, like, we've all really pretty much hit on it. It's all the same stuff. Is that it's practice, it's reps, it's learn the scheme, it's learn the playbook. Not to mention the fact that, at least I can speak for us in here, we don't really have like a high bar. We're not expecting him to come in here and come be Peyton 2.0. When he literally just needs to take care of the ball and let the defense carry you. Then like Lawrence mentions, where it's like the media's, oh, he went 13 for 18, and Lawrence like, well, it was third down drill. So, and the funny part is, let's say he decides to throw deep, then they're going to be like, oh, the coaches told him it was third down and he's throwing. So damned if you do, damned if you don't. And even not only that, let's just be real. How many times, let's talk about Andrew Luck, has it been like 3rd and 2? And it's like, Doyle's open right there. So no, deep shot. Like, so.
Sometimes it works out.
Sometimes it worked out, but I know I've hit my head a bunch of times seeing him do that, and it's like just pick up the first down. So I'd rather have the guy who's not only like he's mentioned it's a third down drill. Obviously, the young guy Eason, year 2, really, let's be kind of year 1, he hasn't earned the right to go against the coaches anyway. So he's gonna have to do exactly what they tell them. He has to earn that right in the regular season, where they, it's 3rd and 2, hit the check down. No, I'm going for it.
I'll do that. I would do that. I mean, well, who are you to say? I'm the one throwing this football. Stand your ass on the sideline and let me get this touchdown. Man, don't even get me started.
Who's it to say? It's Frank Reich. Who's to say?
I guess he has an advantage because he has a big arm.
All right, I'm sorry. Sir Frank Reich. I'm sorry. I love you, man. But stay over here and call the game. I'll make it happen. Let's go.
And knowing Coach Frank Reich, he's going to be aggressive on third down anyway, so Eason will be comfortable with that.
But also Lucas, did you have something to say? Or was someone about to say something before I was about to say?
I do want to say one thing real quick because I like to talk. I always got something to say. You don't say. No, we was talking about that, the third down drills and, that he was checking it down. That's something else that made me go, dude's learning. Dude's learning because in college, that wasn't something he was known for. All right. In college, if it was third down and 2, he was stepping back and the ball went 40 yards downfield to his wide receiver. Okay.
Basic college football.
Yeah, that's what he did. And he is learning every day. He is learning. And every time there is a practice session, like a quick 2-minute team drill session going on, you'll see him go through his reps, do these few plays, step out, walk straight to either his quarterback coach or to Brady. And they end up telling him, they work with him about it. And I think that is so awesome because he's all about learning things and getting better. And you can't take Loyalist, who's my co-host, if y'all didn't know in the chat. He said, it's a day-to-day basis. Don't take what you get from week 1 as gold, right? Don't take week 2 as gold. No. Let's see what happens in the second and third preseason game. I wouldn't even take the first preseason game as what is, because it'll be the first time he's played against another team that he don't know anything about. All right. Let's see what happens, because I want to know, what if Eason starts lighting it up in preseason? That becomes a situation. What if he comes out week 1 against Seattle and throws up 280 yards, no interceptions, 2 touchdowns, and then Wentz comes in and, who would you start? Would you start the guy who's doing a really good job, or would you start the guy that just came back from a foot injury?
Look.
We literally brought that question up earlier.
That was the exact scenario we were going through right in the beginning of the chat right here.
Okay. I'll answer that for you right now, Lawrence. I'm going with Jacob Eason. I'm sorry, man. Before we even made this trade, I wanted Jacob Eason so bad. I just wanted to, and it's not logical. If you want to contend, you're not going to do that. So that's why they made the move. But still, I don't give a damn about that. I want to see Jacob Eason. I mean, I just want to see him. So to touch on what you said about, in that period, they were going through check downs, on third down situations. That's called situational football. And this is something that happens in every practice. People have this notion that when you get out there, you're just flinging it all over the field. No, it's called practice for a reason. You're going to practice throwing out outside the numbers. Okay. This is why coaches have coaches meetings before practice, okay? When we get into 11 on 11, hey, if I'm Frank Reich, hey, Matt, I want you to be in this setup. I'm going to test Jacob in here. I want you to be in this coverage. Let's just say I want you to be in quarters, okay? I'm going to have 3 crossers going across the middle. I want to see what Jacob can do there. That's why there's a lot of communication going on in this sport that people don't realize. So there's situational football going on every single day. And I love the fact that Lawrence even brought that up, because, that's something that we have to talk about and educate ourselves on, that not every single session is just boom, throw it down the field. Can you be accurate about it? No. Jacob Eason is learning, in my opinion, for the first time in his career, how to actually play the quarterback position. Look, I got love for the coaches at Georgia. They got more knowledge than me. I got love for John Donovan at Washington. He has more knowledge than me. But no one is putting them on the level that Frank Reich's at. No one is putting them there. Hell, Phillip Rivers probably has a better knowledge than his coaches in high school and college. So the fact that he learned from Phillip Rivers, Frank Reich, and still going to Frank Reich, and he has Frank Reich's undivided attention now. It is all on him now. So the fact that he is doing this, to Lawrence's point, getting better, showing improvement, man, all I know is if he's lighting it up, I want all the smoke. I want it all. I want all the Carson Wentz fans to come at me. I want a Dak Prescott situation again. Carson, I got love for you. I hope you get over it, but get over it in Jacksonville or something like that. This is Eason's train. Now, again, I'm still rooting for Carson. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know why I'm so obsessed with this guy, man. I just want to see him succeed so bad.
Because we're hungry for football.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not an Eason stan. I'm not a Wentz stan. I'm not, I just want the best person out there for the Colts. And if Eason is on fire, he's got the hot hand, let him play and let Wentz get better and practice and learn with the team, because he's going to miss the entire preseason and training camp. Give him time to learn the way Eason did, and ride Eason until maybe Eason falls off. Maybe he takes us to a Super Bowl. We don't know. You won't know until you give him a shot.
Thank you.
You know, it's funny that you mentioned that about riding off Eason, because it can be a reverse scenario that nobody's really bringing up, because Nick Foles rode off of Wentz's success the whole season. And then when Wentz went out, Foles literally just walked in with all the momentum and literally just led them to the Super Bowl. This could be the same scenario for Jacob Eason and Carson Wentz. Not saying it could be the same thing, but it could be prediction-wise. There's a bunch of scenarios you can throw around for the Colts. Going into the chat, I put it up on the screen already, but I'm just going to reiterate it. Coach Loyalist said, I'm more worried about the performance of our backups at left tackle than I am at QB. And I agree 100% with that topic, because I know the QB position could definitely be game manager for sure. We don't need a lot from the production from Jacob Eason. We just need him to manage the game. And he's literally working on that right now in training camp. And I know he's probably going to have a solid preseason as well. I think I'm going to be more worried about the backup quarterbacks that's behind Eason preseason-wise than Eason in general. But let me get your thoughts, Alex, on Coach Loyalist comment. I'm going to put it back up there. I'm more worried about the performance of our backups at left tackle than I am at QB.
Real quick. I am so sorry to get off topic, but this literally just came up, okay? Phillip Rivers is mulling unretirement. Lucas, you damn son of a...
That was what we were talking about.
Yep.
Are you serious?
That was the exact tweet that we were talking
It wasn't a tweet. It was... Oh, okay, I'm not going to say it, but it wasn't a tweet, though. Okay. Forget about it. But oh Jesus, wow.
I'll tell you what. I'd rather have Rivers come back here than freaking Nick Foles.
Everybody.
We don't need to give up draft capital to get Rivers. We do give Foles, and I think Rivers would be better than Foles.
The only thing in the trade, the only thing that would have to happen if we got if Phillip Rivers came back to Indy, is that Lucas would have to mail me that sweater thingy he's wearing.
Oh,
that thing is sweet.
Dude looks like he's going to class at 8 a.m. Like
he needs a pipe
and he's got a lunch date with the wife afterwards.
Yeah.
You want to know what this actually is?
Oh Jesus!
This is the dude sweater from the Big Lebowski, baby.
There you go.
from who? What?
The movie Big Lebowski.
Oh, okay. Thought he was talking about a store. I'm like, I don't shop there.
Tell me where you bought it so I can go get one.
This is a Christmas gift, and I'm Jewish, and it was great.
Oh,
but anyhow, Alex, you had a question to you, and you got sidetracked. I'm sorry, man. Go ahead.
What was it? You said talk about left tackle?
Yeah, the comment
more
right
worried
here
about the left tackle than the quarterback position.
No, well, yeah, I mean that just comes off topic of a little. Let's just go back to last year with the revolving door there when Costanzo was out, and nobody was working until Jared Valdir in the playoffs or like late in the season. So huge question. Not to mention the fact that obviously made the comparison to Easton, where Easton can just come be a game manager, but offensive line. When I say don't let anyone touch my quarterback, there's nothing else. It's that and only that. So that's going to be important. We know 56 is gone now, so it's more important. Yeah, so it's
I
worrying.
mean, currently,
obviously.
right now, we only have 2 starters on the offensive line, and they're on the right side.
Exactly. Not to mention the fact that obviously we don't necessarily even have a timetable on Fisher. So we've at least got a timetable on Wentz and Nelson. We don't necessarily know for sure when we're getting Fisher. Maybe, hopefully, we find it out later. But yeah, it can't be a repeat of last year. Again, I am not saying that you have to be perfect and allow zero pressures, but he's got to at least have time.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah, I will say this. I have seen a lot more good out of Holden and Tebby than what I saw out of Green and Clark last year. I promise you, a lot more good out of them 2 guys than the other. So
Thank God.
no matter what you hear about, even myself saying, the pass rushes look good against the tackles. These tackles would have made LaRaven Clark look like a standing statue. Okay. So, I mean, at least from time to time, they're winning battles at times here, not just always losing like what you saw from Green and Clark. So, there's give and take on the tackles, but you're going to hear a lot more about when the ends beat the tackles, because, that's a big deal, but you're not going to hear, but you also got to remember they're going up against really good players. So it is what it is. And I've said this also, situational, Mike, situational. This is mostly all one-on-one. They're not going out there and doing scheming. All right. They are playing specific plays for specific, but they're not scheming against the defense specifically. So it's the tackle versus the defensive end one-on-one every stinking time. They don't have the tight ends out there chipping them inside, or the running back stopping in and helping, or anything of that nature. Okay. Which is what you're going to see in a real season game, is these tackles, when they need help, will get help from time to time. But during training camp, they're not getting help, and they shouldn't. They shouldn't, because you don't want them to rely on that. You want them to get better. So, that's my 2 cents on what I've seen and what I think.
Yeah, for sure. I was going to mention something, but I totally forgot.
Because I like to talk and talk too much.
It happens. It just dawned on me, but then I forgot. Oh, now I remember. We was talking about Chaz Green, LaRaven Clark, and then Lucas, you can go ahead and give your point on the comment on the screen. But I've literally seen, I've just for no off the comments of Lawrence of how the production is way better than Green and Clark. Last year, I literally seen J.J. Watt walk past Chaz Green without even touching him. So I just know off of that the tackles this year is better than Chaz Green and LaRaven Clark. But Lucas, you can go ahead and give your thoughts on the comment.
I'm encouraged to hear that they're better than Chaz Green and LaRaven Clark. I'm going to start with that. But again, really I have to say that the bar is low. Very low. So hopefully they can continue to improve. Hopefully they can at least be mediocre instead of the worst tackles I have seen on a Colts uniform. And that's saying something, because I have watched the Grigson era offensive linemen. But I have been encouraged at times with the tackles. I'm really, really hoping that we can get Ryan Kelly back as soon as possible, within like a week, maybe 2, so he can really help the communication aspect of that, especially if we start working on blitz pickups for the offensive line, start to try and focus a little bit more on the 11-on-11s. Ryan Kelly's intellect on that offensive line will be very helpful for those young tackles to kind of learn from in those situations. But I still am worried. There's room for concern on that line, especially when you have Wentz, who's coming off of an injury now, and he has shown that he suffers very much when there's pressure in his face. You have a young quarterback named Eason, who we have yet to see him really go up against a NFL caliber rush. And when he was going up against a rush in college, it also wasn't pretty at all. And he's not mobile like Wentz. He is more mobile than Rivers. I'll give him credit, but he's not Wentz's mobility. So, and plus then you look at the early schedule and you see that week 2 game, and we've been saying it several times, Aaron Donald. That man is a bad man, and I do not want him getting even close to these guys, but it's going to happen with how these tackles are looking and with how our offensive line health is looking.
Yeah, because right now it's a big question mark on whether or not, the best offensive lineman in football will be facing off against the best defensive lineman in football. And if that's not Quentin Nelson, if that's Jake Eldencramp or Danny Pinter or Will Fries or Reed over there at guard,
Jesus,
that's a scary thought against Aaron freaking Donald.
Ryan Kelly's going to have to double him.
Against Glowinski, where he's more likely going to be going after him, I wasn't confident with that, let alone the backups to our starting 2 guards.
Mm-hmm.
Gives me quite a bit of pause. Then you throw in an inexperienced rookie quarterback potentially going up there. There's a fun statistic I've found today.
Uh-oh.
Ever since the Colts moved to Indianapolis, when we have played the Rams, it has ended in a blowout from either side. There has not been a single game except for 1995, only once, where there was a game in less than 14 points of a differential in points. So, and especially the last few years, it's been like 30-point blowouts on either side.
No, we've lost the last 2. We've gotten demolished.
Yeah. And
by 30 points on one specific
like
one.
So it's not going to be pretty. I'm going to say that much for week 2, especially if we do not have Wentz and also Nelson going up against Aaron Donald. But at the very least, there's going to be some positive trends once we have a semi-reasonable matchup instead of the inhuman behemoth that is Aaron Donald.
Well, the good news is, the potential is there. All of our injuries, save Dio, are in the window of being available week 1. Quentin Nelson, 5 to 12 weeks. It's 5 weeks is before week 1. Same with Wentz. Same with Fisher. Fisher has a possibility of being available before then. The odds of all 3 of them being available at that time is kind of, but it's there. But if you had that choice of those 3 guys, Nelson, Fisher, and Wentz, and you had one guaranteed to be back by opening week, who would it be?
That's a tough one. To come
Nelson.
back week 1,
Yep.
I would say Nelson for sure.
Oh, yeah, definitely Nelson.
Because no matter who's at quarterback, they need to be protected.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I agree.
it's Nelson all the way. Look, all I know is I am going to be pissed. I am going to be very angry if we do not get Quentin Nelson versus Aaron Donald. That is going to be the matchup of the year. That is going to be must-see TV. I would pay pay-per-view money for that matchup. That is let
it happen, NFL. Let them
Put that last comment
Put
back
that
up.
back up, man. That was funnier than heck.
I'm going to go ahead and read it. He said, things that are better blockers than Green and Clark. A matador, an actual turtle, a statue, a speed bump, and the guy who cut off his arm trying to survive a rock
climbing accident.
I tried to keep going with my thought, but I couldn't stop looking at it. Okay.
Oh, man. Okay. Shout out to Timothy, man.
Right.
I wish we could like comments because that would have got a lot of them.
What's that comment? They like Marcus's beard?
Yeah. It's a bunch of those walking around in the chat.
They like the beard, they like the sweaters, they like the style and the sophistication, and also the analysis that all of us are bringing. And I love it.
Look, man, if we don't get Quentin Nelson versus Aaron Donald, I don't even care what happens in the game. I'm going to be so angry that I did not. That is probably the best matchup you will be able to watch on film the entire year.
It'd be upsetting, but come on, man. If it meant a chance of Nelson, re-injuring himself or something, as opposed to not being 100%, then obviously. But yeah, I mean that's a matchup of the year right there. Easy.
I highly doubt whoever LA Rams defensive coordinator is, he should be fired if Aaron Donald does not line up on the right side the entire game over. He should be out on the 5 technique. That's where he should be. He should not be 1. He should not even be 3. He should be 5 the whole way. I mean, don't even put him inside. Just let him line up against Will Holden, and God help us.
He said thank you. Colts loyalist mentioned, he said, Reich said on McAfee's show that Easton's going to see a lot of playing time during the preseason. Does this concern anyone with our offensive line situation? Michael, you can go first.
Okay, he said what again?
Reich said on the McAfee show that Easton's going to see a lot of playing time during the preseason. Does this concern anyone with our offensive line situation?
Why would it concern me? Easton's going to get playing time. He's going to get reps. He's going to light these dudes up.
He can get comfortable with that shady O-line we're going to have going into week 1.
Exactly.
Alex, you can go ahead and comment on that.
Well, even then, I mean, it's the preseason. So how many of those guys on the other side of the field are going to be on NFL rosters? And even then, okay, not only that, let's say Wentz was healthy, then Easton's going to get playtime anyway because Wentz would have been the starter. So he's going to be. So it's anything. If anything, it's what he was going to get in the first place.
Well, Easton's getting a lot more playing time with the starters, is what he's saying. Like they're going to start out, and be out there longer.
Then that's a win-win. Then that's even better.
Defenses right off the bat, and better pass rushes, better coverage, the whole 9 yards.
Mm-hmm. You can't ask for a better situation because you're putting them out there against starting caliber players with backups, and then later on, you're going to have starters in front of you instead of the backups.
Well,
if you're going to play, you're going to be playing with the expectation of one specific type of protection, and then boop, your protection got 2 levels up. 3 weeks later. So, it's a win-win.
Yeah, and I think the expectation in preseason, yes, he is our starter, but this isn't a starter. You say play a series and he's done. That's not how progressing at the quarterback position works. Jacob Eason is going to get, I think, in my opinion, four drives. In my opinion, he's going to get tested. And something I didn't even think about, I'm not sure if they're going to play, but this first preseason game, Brian Burns and Hassan Reddick are a pretty good duo. That's some good speed and athleticism out there. I'm not entirely sure if they're going to play. I highly doubt Braden Smith is even going to play in that game. So it's going to get testy out there. I still don't know if they're going to play, but that's something to monitor going forward. But for the expectation for Jacob Eason should be even in the last preseason game, give him 2 reps. If it's already decided, this guy's progressed well, just get him 2 reps, keep him warm, and we'll see you week 1. There you go. That's just, I'm not going to put him out there for a drive and say, okay, we'll come back next week and we'll figure it out then. No, got to give him reps. Get him a different defense to look at. Give him a different defense to read. That way, coming into camp, because you're still in camp, get back in the classroom, watch different tape of a different defense. Hey, man, when they line up in this is where you're going to check off and you're going to hit this guy, whatever the case may be. The drives in preseason are much more valuable than the reps in training camp.
Yeah, I agree.
So
like Brian said, he said Eason on the run, passing, and moving is a problem, though, right?
So Eason doesn't move as bad as people want to say. Okay. During a training camp practice, there was like my boy, Colts loyalist was at a camp. He said there was a jailbreak on one play, a jailbreak. The entire defensive line got past the offensive line, and Eason split the 2 defenders right up the gut and took it right up the middle, picked up 8.5 yards rushing. So he can move. His problem was his accuracy falls when he's on the move, when he throws the football, right? That's the problem that he has. But I mean, if our offensive line is healthy and together, at that point, it doesn't matter, because he's not going to have to move around that much. If he learns to get through his progressions quick and hits the target fast, it's like Tom Brady.
Mm-hmm.
Do you need to worry about, how well he throws on the run? No, because he's getting through his progressions really quick and hitting the open guy as quick as possible. That's what Eason needs to be. And that's what he's been working on.
100%. 100%. Your awareness will take your game to another level, and you don't have to be a mobile quarterback to do that. I think if your eyes can literally evaluate the field, the play time is just gonna happen on the fly. I think Eason will develop that over time, especially during the preseason for sure. We're going to be reaching towards the end of this episode. Appreciate everybody that came through today. Appreciate everybody hit the like button. If you haven't checked out any of these guys, feel free to do so. He says, "Sheesh, okay, I see you guys are on the grind still on." Yeah, for sure. We're about to end it though, for sure. But if you guys have any last questions, feel free to let us know before we get up out of here. By the way, I haven't said this during the chat yet. Ryan Grigson.
Say that
man.
every chat.
Timothy's been on the road today, man. He's been on the road for sure.
All I know is that I am about to go buy a jersey. And
the Easton jersey?
I mean,
45.
You are the captain.
You are the captain.
Hey, I got to have my uniform on. All right.
Yeah,
and just
true.
So y'all know, I'm still boarding this train. Again, you get a free lemon drop shot. You get a free bottle of whiskey. You can watch a free movie for free. But anything after that, bottle of water is $50.
Michael, do I get all that?
We'll see what articles you pump out. Well, I'll reconsider. I'll reconsider.
Yes, sir. Shout out to Luke, the photographer for the Blue Stable, man.
Yes.
Got some really good pictures, man. Really good pictures while he was over there at camp. Appreciate you for that, for sure.
He got one of Zach Pascal picking his nose. I'm just kidding. He did it.
Thoughts on our 3 backup QBs who will be behind Eason? I think for sure it'll be Sam Ehlinger, if anything.
I don't know. I think
Brent Huntley.
I think Jalen Morton's played better than Sam Ehlinger, in my opinion.
Oh, okay.
On an overall, yeah.
That'd be interesting to see.
Okay. Jalen Moulton, he's a rookie, and he correct me if I'm wrong, he went to
one of those small schools.
Carolina, no?
I believe so. I can actually look it up. If
I can't remember right off. I just know the name. I know number 6. I know what I see on the field,
Yeah. I don't know if it was Eastern Carolina or James Madison or whatever. I can't remember. Huh.
So thank you, Lawrence.
Okay.
All right. So we're going to go ahead and get ready to end it. Alex, let them know where they can find you one more time before they go ahead and before I go ahead and let it go.
Yeah, definitely. First things first, definitely give us a follow at SIA Colts Beat on Twitter. But literally everywhere and anywhere you can find a podcast: iTunes, Spotify, Buzzsprout, Stitcher, and pretty soon coming to YouTube also. So keep your eyes out for that.
Okay. I like that. Come to YouTube, man. Welcome to the new platform. Lucas, you're up.
All right. I am at Robbins Lucas on Twitter. You can also find me on thebluestable.com as the lead writer for that. We're going to be pumping out some amazing articles coming up. And no matter where you fall on the Eason train, it's going to be a fun ride to watch.
Just don't be on the tracks when I'm driving.
All right, Michael, you're up.
All right. And shout out to Alex in the Say It Again network, man. Got one of my good buddies, his co-host, Anthony Golick. Pretty good, knowledgeable guy. Got love for Justin. Got love for Jacob out there. Shout out to those guys. Also follow the Blue Stable at the Blue Stable on Twitter, and follow me at the Underdog Sports Podcast, or not podcast, at Underdog Sports 4. Sorry.
All right, Lawrence, you're up.
Man, Colts_law, Twitter, IG. Colts Law, Lawrence Owen, YouTube, pretty easy. I've got content on a daily basis. You can check me out on YouTube, you can check me out on Twitter, you can check me out on Newsbreak. But I'm also now the host of the Colts podcast on Believe Network. So that stuff will probably be coming out pretty soon as well. Like I said, follow me, but just not so close that I can feel you behind me.
Oh, damn. Is that the new Believe podcast slogan? Are we getting t-shirts?
We'll be like Kenny Moore, step by step.
Step by step. Yeah.
All right, man. Appreciate everybody to stop by. We're going to end it off on that. Timothy said Easton Train is coming through. This has been Culture Shock. This has been the Blue Stable. Find out all the social media platforms if you want to follow me in the description. The link tree is there. Appreciate you guys. Hit the like button if you haven't already on all these platforms. Also subscribe to all these channels as well. This is Marcus, and until next time, you've been Culture Shocked.